Alrighty. I think I should be all good. And welcome. Today starts the beginning of a really big journey. We're going to paint everything in here. This is the 5th edition Monster Manual by Wizards of the Coast, and in here there are, let's see here, flip to the table of contents here. So there's quite a lot of entries here. I think there are 300 and something individual entries. I had my stuff prepped out on a different piece of paper, and I'm not going to go and find it. But today we're going to start with the A's, and there's all kinds of really cool stuff in here, and I cannot wait to go into painting all of it. But today we're going to start with, and I'm doing this letter by letter, so we're going to start with the A's and then go on to the B's and so on and so forth. So we're starting today with the Aboleth, which is this fish-like creature. And we have that model all ready for us. Alrighty. I'm going to pull up a reference photo for what I'm doing here. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually mount this up so I can paint it. Just going to drill out a small hole here for me to put a pin in. There we are. Just going to add a little dab of blue here. And insert our pen here. We'll give that just a minute to set. And these painting handles are great. However, if your monster or whatever miniature you're painting doesn't actually have a base, they're a little bit more difficult to use. What I like to do is I like to take the top part off and then just smush a bunch of blue tack on there. And there we are. And we'll just put this in there, yeah. So we're going to start with the base coat. I really liked the image there from the monster manual, so we're going to go with a nice paler skin. So we're going to start off with a nice seafoam green. this is Wizard's Orb. I need a water cup. There we go. And there we are. We have our water. Start with our base coat here. Okay. So right here, we're just going to add the base coat here. Starting on the darker side here. I'm starting on the bottom side just because I want to see if this Wizard's Orb is going to go over our darker areas fairly well. And it looks like, yeah, looks like it is. So there's a lot of model here, so I might be whipping out my airbrush here in a second. Yeah, it looks like that's going on there quite well. It's definitely going to be 2 coats, but we can do 2 coats, no problem. I wanted to start in between the blue and the green on this, just because I didn't know which way. I'd never painted anything like this Aboleth before. Lots of crazy flesh. But yeah, as you can see here, we're getting that nice color down there. And I think, yes, I think I might end up using my airbrush for this. We had a lot of monsters to paint. Might as well start off by making it a little bit easier on ourselves. Yeah. Oh, 1 second. Alrighty, and here we are. Got a glove so that when I overspray a little bit, it doesn't get all over my hands. Okay, need a little mixing cup. Ta-da! And we're going to start with some airbrush thinner. And we're going to add some of the paint in there. these up here. Perfect. We're going to be spraying this at about 35 psi. Okay. And we'll go through and touch up anything we missed with our airbrush with our brush here in just a few minutes, but I figure it might be a little bit easier to get that nice base coat with this first. Oh wow, this might just need cleaned out before I can use it tonight. Okay. See how we're looking now. Okay. So I'm actually going to change this out. I'm going to put it in this piece of cork instead of my blue tack. This is a really great start. Just hitting it a little bit with the airbrush should help us get this base coat down just a little bit faster. There we go. All right. So now there is where we're starting with. You can see there I was using a brush, but I'm going to be using a brush. I'm going to make a very nice solid layer all over the bottom of this thing. So I'm not concerned about that right now. But I was really nervous about painting the aboleth right off the get-go as one of my first things here. And so I just was like, hey, I'm going to get that knocked out here. It's the A that I was the most apprehensive about. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to start with it and then move on. Everything I think in the A's I'm pretty comfortable with, but this kind of almost alien skin I was a little bit about. So here we go. Let's get a nice thick layer on the bottom here, because we're really going to want his belly to be a little bit darker. I think we'll be able to use a little bit of unevenness in this color here to our advantage as we try and make skin that looks more alien. There we go. Oh, I don't need you right now, airbrush. Thank you though. Oh, I accidentally. No one ever really chats during my live stream, so I had that minimized. But I now have the chat open again. Sorry if I missed anything. Oh, I think it should show me if I missed anything. But I'm gonna go and get the rest of his belly here. There we go. I like that. I think I have an idea of something fun to do with his fins. If I just continue to get my base coat built up here on just his underside. We should be good then. So then there, that's where we currently stand. We're definitely going to lighten him up. But as we stand now, he is looking a little bit extraterrestrial. So we're going to let that sit for just a little bit. And I waffled back and forth about doing something like this, as in making sure I finish one miniature start to finish. And somebody made a really good suggestion of posting up the video separately for every monster that I paint, which would be really cool if they were all in order. So I might go back here after we finish a couple of letters and edit them together. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of keep my projects all smushed together for at least a little bit here at the beginning. And is he? Yeah, he's actually already out. Okay. So while we wait for him to kind of settle and dry a little bit, we're going to move on to one of these other A guys, and I'm debating between the Acolyte, which this is the model I chose for that, or the Bird guy. I've been calling him the Bird guy for so long that I keep forgetting their actual name. Aarakocra. Yeah, Aarakocras. So I'm not sure which one of these two I want to do. Does anyone have any suggestions? What you would like to see first, the Aarakocra or the Acolyte? And of course, No Faith. Thank you for joining us here today. I think I love painting with other people, but realistically, this isn't a hobby that you can really join up in somebody else and like go over to a buddy's house and paint. So I think I'm gonna do the Acolyte. I like the idea of being able to do this with people without actually having to be in the same place because we all have our own little painting areas. And if we invite someone over to join us or we try and go to somebody else's house and paint, we it just doesn't work out. I had a buddy over here once when he was beginning his hobbying adventures and he was painting at my house and I was like, wow, yeah, this is not a super fun activity to do with other people in your space. So we'll start with his I like to acolytes. I like to think about like what I want to do with the model as a whole first. So I think I want to make him an acolyte of like a cult that has purple robes. I want his whole jacket to be purple. I'm thinking. I do like purple. It's a very good color. So we'll start with a purple base coat. Actually, I'm going to start with the shoes. Recently, I've gotten in a very bad, nasty habit of actually just completely forgetting about people's feet when I paint some miniatures. I just completely forget to paint the feet. So we'll start with a nice. Let's use a contrast paint for that. I'm going to use Abyssal Black or Black Templar. And we'll get up in his feet here. And it looks like his pants are just connected straight into his boots here. Or maybe I'm missing something with my detail eyes here. But we're just going to paint this all here. We'll use this contrast paint just as a little bit of a base coat. Okay. There we go. We got the base coat on his feet done. And I personally, I don't know if this is a common practice, but I like to go through and get base coats on everything because a lot of people that I see do miniature painting and stuff, they'll pick like the biggest thing and they'll start there and get it all the way done. But I like to do the base coats everywhere first and then move on to what I want to do next on each individual piece once I have all the ideas of the colors put together. Alright, so for the purple robes, we're going to start with a nice base coat of hexed Hexed Lichen. Game color, nice vibrant, high pigmented paint. Get that down on the palette here. We'll go ahead and thin that down with a little bit of water. I'll start here. We're gonna get. I think this is gonna be my darker color, so we're gonna go here and get it in. Starting to really focus on the areas that are gonna be darker. So this is a pretty big undertaking, painting everything in the monster manual, because I'm always running out of ideas. And when I ask people for ideas, they're usually something super specific. And I'm a little bit slow right now on commissions and such. So I was like, okay, well, I need something sustainable to do on my YouTube live streams. And I was like, okay, we'll paint. My first thought was we'll paint like a Warhammer army, because I have at least one army that's. I have a lot of Warhammer models that I could start painting, but then I was like, there's so many incredibly skilled Warhammer painters out there. I would just feel a little bit out of place, for now at least, painting those live. Let me start with something a little bit easier to approach: Dungeons and Dragons miniatures. And I absolutely love D&D, and I figured this would be a really great way just to kind of sit and chill and talk about Dungeons and Dragons and throw brushes around. But yeah, I'm usually the person that takes on huge projects without really thinking them all the way through. So here we are. And I've never actually seen an acolyte in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I actually was having a lot of trouble finding in my head like a good model. But then I was like, okay, and I started looking at their what do you call it? Their monster manual entry, and apparently they're supposed to have a club and be a spellcaster. So I was like, okay, I can just lean on that. And this is actually a warlock miniature from the Nulzor's miniature line, and they have just phenomenal sculpts. Okay, here we go. And what I'm doing here is I'm not going for an extreme amount of contrast all over these models. So in the darker places, I'm using a little bit of a thicker version of this paint, and in the lighter spots, I'm using I'm just using so I have two sections here. One's a little bit more watered down. I'm using the slightly more watered down one with more of a damp brush. That's too damp. And it's just a little bit thinner because we're going to be going over those sections with a brighter color here in a moment. But I don't want to mess with wet blending everything together right now. With thinner paint, you kind of don't have to worry about that. That's a little too thin. Okay. We're getting there, almost done here. There we go. And as I move forward through this project, I will keep track of all of the models that I use for it. And you guys can follow along with me. And in the future, if enough people start watching these streams, I think it would be kind of fun to Mr. No Faiths or Mrs. I don't know anything about your No Faith. And if there's anything to No Faith's point about watching stuff while they paint, it'd be kind of fun to have a painting party in which we're all painting up the same things, but I'll be farther on down the line, I believe. Okay. I gotta get a better base coat on the bottom sections here. So this hexed lichen was a little bit brighter than I thought it would be, which is fine. There we go. Just get the underneath section here. Gonna leave his cuffs for now. I think, yeah, we're definitely gonna do his cuffs in a different color. But here's our work in progress picture. There we go. Ta-da! Purple robes. Let's get my hand up behind there. As you can see, just a base coat. Not paying too much attention to saturation and such, but beginning, I think I like to say when it comes to the contrast that I put on my models, I missed a spot. I don't try and push it for most of the things that I do, but I'm aware of it. Things such as lighting. I think that's where a lot of people are, and they're comfortable there, and I'm comfortable on that for something like this. I'm comfortable not trying to push myself and learn and get really, really crazy good at painting every single time, trying to do something crazy and new, but just being aware of it all. All right, good deal. All right, so let's see how this guy's doing. Let's set him off for a second. I think I might hit him with another coat, but yeah, so we got that bottom belly actually. I really like that. I'm looking at it. So that's just the cork. But the belly there is a much brighter shade than the rest of them. So I'm actually really digging that. So I just need to hit the top with an even lighter one here. So I might add a different color into my airbrush here. Which, to those of you that are screaming at the camera right now, yes, I did leave my airbrush there, but it kind of needs cleaned anyway. So I might not be able to use it tonight unless I were to do it live here on stream. We'll see what happens there. But we're gonna leave him there, and we're gonna pick out the next base coat here. Let's do his pea coat. I want to do his pea coat. Let's see, we've got purple. Switching cameras back and forth. Your tight shot is pretty good. It's a good idea. I will have to look on how to do that here in the OBS. So I just started streaming and such, so any advice you can give me on setting up the stream and such itself, I don't actually quite understand what you mean by your tight shot is pretty good, but when you say switching cameras back and forth, do you mean switching from this one right here to my other one, or something else? Because I am really happy with this tight shot right here, and I originally debated with the idea of not having a wide shot at all, but since I have so many on my Wednesday night streams, I do so many larger crafts, and at least I plan to. Having the bigger area so I can kind of talk and gesture and stuff was very, very, very helpful, and it's going to continue to be helpful. But maybe for something like this where I'm just model painting, only having the tight up might be a good idea. Now that I think about it, because I'm not doing anything crazy where people need to see me or my hands. But yeah, let me know a little bit more what you're talking about there. But I appreciate that. Yes, I'm very happy with the tight shot here. I need to get the habit in painting in front of it more. Because normally when I paint like this in front of this light right here. But now I have this camera here, and I was gonna put it over here, but yeah, I just didn't. But here we go. So we're going in here, and I'm keeping my paint nice and thin on this part because there's a lot of these little rivets here in his jacket, and I don't wanna muck them up. Okay. Making the full screen image while working, and the shot of you on the inside while working. I think actually. Let's see if this works. If I were to do this. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for saying something about the no sound. I will have to restart my encoder in the future in order to swap it back and forth. Ooh, so I was talking there the whole time, and I was like, "Hey, can anyone see just the tight shot?" Uh, so as I said, I do miniature painting and I do some other stuff, but I am not a video production person at all. But I will definitely work on getting this set up a little bit better. But for the meantime, what I will do is expand this up a little bit. Yeah, so you can still see my face a little bit. um, yeah. Thank you for saying something about the audio. I probably would have painted there for a while after I saw somebody you say that it's great for painting. I'll keep that. I'll try and figure that out, and I'll test it on next Wednesday's stream, and hopefully next Friday night Madness will have uh, an easier way for me to just swap between the two. Because ideally, I would just set up like a little macro or something to just hit a key and swap between them. Okay, cool. So then there's the base coat there, the yellow. Um, looking good there. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do the brown on his club. I think it's meant to be like an arcane staff or something, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just make it a gnarled wood club because I'm not doing a warlock adventure for somebody. I'm doing just a generic small challenge rating monster out of the monster manual. Okay, and this is going to be fur brown. But doing this project so far, I would encourage anyone that's a miniature painter, go pick some random shit out to paint. Go find something that you don't normally paint. For me, I painted some monsters out of the monster manual, and I've done a lot of wargaming models. And picking up something like this giant project, wrong brush, really made me aware of how in my own comfort zone I've been for the last like couple of years, or at least the last 8 or 9 months with miniature painting. Because picking up these first two models, I didn't really do a lot of prep or thought into how I was going to paint these. Because I always paint things that I always buy things that I'm comfortable with painting wise. And when I pick them up, I can just go ahead and start. But I'm going to have to really do some thought and practice in how I'm going to paint these in the future. Because don't worry, don't get me wrong. I like you guys to see the whole process of how I'm doing things start to finish. But I would like to seem like I have some semblance of a plan ahead of time. It's kind of like DMing for Adventurers League. You can prep everything out painstakingly, or you can just read the module a couple of times the night before, and then trust yourself to wing it all the way through. And about half the time, your players won't really know the difference, and there won't be too huge of a difference in your quality. But it fills me with a lot of anxiety right now. Well, not a lot of anxiety. I get a little bit anxious because I'm like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how to paint this Aboleth flesh. It's definitely not something I've done before. Okay. Get in the back here. Alrighty. But doing this project is something I think everyone likes the idea of saying, and hopefully as I continue onward, I can show that I'm really dedicated to actually doing this, because this is one of those things that you hear somebody say and you're like, yeah, okay, we'll see how far they get. I rarely start something and don't finish it, especially when it comes to painting projects. In fact, on next Wednesday's live stream, we're going to continue on with a build that has plagued me for about 3 years. It's been sitting in the same state that I left it in when I finally thought I was going to give up and I couldn't throw it away. It's a giant display board, and I'm getting to it. I refuse to give up on projects in a significant way, or in a permanent way. I won't give up. But I've also found that since quarantine hit and since I started taking my miniature painting a little bit more seriously, that big projects like this are so soothing, because once you get your rhythm, you can just kind of stick in your rhythm and do your thing and still learn and grow. So, like, for example, as you learn new techniques or you get more comfortable with your color selections, oh wow, I dip my brush a lot more when I'm doing smaller figures. I'm gonna get another paper towel there. You can really push yourself without realizing that you're doing so, just in the nature of what you are attempting to paint. Things like aboleths, or there's some big ones that I'm pretty scared of going forward in this big project. I'm gonna get my drink here. Also a little bit dry. There's a few monsters in this monster manual that I'm pretty scared to do. Just right off the bat, I'm trying to think of one that was spooky. Oh, all of the giants. Ironically, the frost giant, stone giant, hill giant. Not super comfortable with the idea of doing giants, but we'll see. We'll see how I do. Okay. There we go. Got the brown. But as I approach them and I make sure that I'm continuing to get through this project, I don't have to go and research and specifically try and learn how to do non-humanoid flesh tones. Like for the storm giant, I can just approach it and start it and learn a little bit as we attempt it together. Which also, No Faith, what are you painting tonight? I just realized that somebody actually, I think you're probably one of the first people that's joined my streams that is a miniature painter so far. I think a lot of it's been friends and family, which I don't know if maybe they're secretly in the closet miniature painters, but I don't believe so. Or not in the closet, but closeted miniature painters. Let's see, an acolyte. Do acolytes have flashy outerwear? I don't think so. I think maybe priests will. So I'm going to give him some tan gloves, actually. Because he's casting a spell. I might... go with the dark leather. Or, not dark leather, rigid leather. Oh, wow, I haven't used this in a while. Typhus! Typhus is a phenomenal model. My buddy, I got him into Warhammer years ago, and it was during the release of 8th edition, and I had been playing Warhammer a little bit and had a bunch of models, and he picked up the Death Guard half of a couple of different things, and he never really got around to painting his models too much, and he just moved down to Tennessee, and well, he wasn't gonna. He told me that him and I, we just didn't ever really get together and play, and it was one of those scenarios where I was the only reason that he even had these models to play with, and he told me when we hung out last before he moved down there that he just threw away all of his Death Guard stuff, and I was like, oh no, I want to paint all that Death Guard stuff. So, because Death Guard is just not an army that I'm ever really interested in owning personally. The lore of it doesn't really appeal to me too much. But I would love to paint a lot of their models. So my fingers are crossed that in the near future I get, in the future someday I get some commissions for jobs involving Death Guard models or just any of the Chaos factions. I love the idea of all of them so much, but just not big on them myself. I'm a Xenos player with all the Tau and the Eldar, the Dark Eldar, my Necrons. The only thing I don't have is Orcs, but I 100% would play Orcs if somebody had like a collection or something they were selling. But yeah, Typhus is a big. Oh no, no, he's not a big model, but he's so integral right now. I think right now he's a pretty big part of a lot of lists, if I remember correctly. But here we go. There we go. That's good enough. I think once quarantine is officially over and the world's a little bit safe again to travel in and do stuff in person, I'm very much looking forward into playing some Warhammer and some other war games as well. But just right now, I have no motivation to paint at the time because I'm going to overdo it on all my paint jobs and I'm not playing it all right now. So I think all in all in 8th edition, I played maybe 3 dozen games, maybe 30 games. And that includes a couple of tournaments, and I never really played at my local gaming store. I only ever just like had 1 or 2 friends over a couple of times and 2 tournaments. So actually, 30 was way overshooting it. I think I actually only played 20 games of 8th edition. I'm going to throw out a better guess there. And for those of you that aren't Warhammer fans, in that game, you can use the same models in between editions. And the edition is, think of it kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, the editions of Dungeons and Dragons, where they completely revamp a lot of the core mechanics, but you still keep the same general ideas on how the actual game is played. So all of the lore remains the same. However, all of the rules of the game change. And when you're doing a war game, when all the rules change, it's a big deal because all of these armies have all these very specific rules on how they function and interact with each other. Okay. We're getting there here. And I wanted to keep the gloves just a slightly different shade than the club here. And also, I'm thinking a little bit more, because like ADHD brain here, I'm hyper focusing on that camera setup thing. I don't know if I'm quite confident enough on my abilities to paint to carry any semblance of a live stream watching audience with just my painting skills alone. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm bad at this, but I'm not, I don't think, good enough to do just a painting stream. I have to get my personality in there. I have a great personality. I promise. I'm likable. Oh, you're on the Mavericks Gaming Discord. Well, hello to you. I posted that up there on a whim, and I was like, I wonder if anyone's going to actually join. And they did. That was great. I am hoping to play soon as well. And those guys at the store, the Mavericks Discord is a local gaming store to us here. And I like those guys. They were really, really nice. I think I went in there. I wonder why I originally just went in there randomly one day. But I got to talking to one of the employees there, and it was the first local gaming store that I didn't feel like I was wasting one of the employees' time. by talking to them, and they were very helpful and kind to me, and in such a way that I didn't feel like I was being catered to, and it didn't feel like anyone was talking down to me. It was just a very good local gaming store, small business interaction, and I've had very few of those. I think I've had my standards are so small when it comes to small businesses. I think my standards are so low. Like, as long as they're not like really shitty to me, I'm like, oh, I had a good time and I supported a small business and a local seller. But it was the first time I was ever like, wow, thank you guys. And that is Mavericks in Mason, Ohio. Okay, there we go. We're getting there here. Get this focus in here. Focus. Right? There we go. Yeah, so, and if you can tell right there in the hand, there's a small section that isn't painted, which is fine. That's for this little spell effect that we'll do here in a bit. All right, cool. So we have that down. Now I'm going to use the brown here to lay down a base coat for the gold. Something I recently learned. Using brown as a base coat for gold saves you so many layers. I'm just going to lay that down right here. There we go. I always hate painting the sides of things. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So the next thing we're going to paint is going to be his face. So I think I'm going to start with his flesh. And then from there, do his. He's got a lot of beard and stuff. So go with the barbarian flesh base coat. Been liking that. So since doing a couple more Dungeons and Dragons things, I've gotten a lot better at painting flesh tones. I got the Army Painter War sets, and they had a couple of good ones in there. And I've gotten much better at doing this as a whole. So hopefully I don't botch it all right now. But that is, yeah, Barbarian Flesh with a Army Painter. Alrighty. And we're just going to start in here. And, oh, I can use the ring light here, like I kind of use another light here. Just keeping a nice sharp point on our brush. We're going to go through and get this base coat down. Okay. And then Okay. About halfway done here. Oof. It's always super nerve-wracking doing faces, don't you think? Like, so tiny. Okay, here we go. Almost there. Okay. Just gonna go ahead and touch up a couple spots here while I still have it on there. I'm not trying to give him a unibrow, but he might be ending up with one here. There we go. It's a little better. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna go down to his neckline. Just the same tone and color here. You can see a little bit of his neck here in the back. Alright, cool. And there we go. It's a little bit horrifying right now, but we'll get in there with the second coat and such in a minute here. Actually, I think I cut it a little bit too large around his eye there. But, so we'll fix that real quick. Cool. Alrighty. So there we have it. I'm going to do another layer of the yellow down the front of his peacoat there, or whatever his officer's coat is. And then we'll start going through and doing each individual piece as we finalize them. But now we have all of our base coats down, just to start off with. And I'm switching over to just a slightly larger brush here. I think that's going to be really thin. Oh, it wasn't so bad. And I'm really digging this mustardy yellow. I think it's called Desert Sand. Alright, cool. Now I got all of our base coats done. We'll move on to the next thing, which is going to be entirely emptying this airbrush, because I think I'm going to switch to my smaller airbrush when we finish that Aboleth. Just because as it's been kicking around in the back of my head, I was like, I definitely want to use that airbrush again, but I know that I need to clean this baby, and I've been bad about doing it lately. Because as I've gotten better with using it, I haven't needed to clean it as much because it hasn't gotten as many blockages or anything. And when I say clean it, I mean like actually tear the whole thing apart and soak it in isopropyl alcohol, all of that, the whole kit and caboodle. I've gotten bad about doing that every so often because I haven't needed to. So we're just gonna do this real quick. Which airbrushes Huge time saver. If you value your time at more than a couple dollars an hour, this thing will pay for itself in like less than a couple of weeks. It is, ooh, it is such a time saver. It has been so great to have one for the last year and a half or so. And as much as I would say like it's expensive, and a lot of people say it's expensive, but it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I got a basic beginner kit and a couple of things, and it ended up being like less than $200, which when you look at the cost of a lot of the models that we end up painting, it's not that much. So okay, here we go. Just getting some airbrush cleaner. Normally I would do a lot more, but I am just gonna disconnect this and connect up my other one and disassemble this one tonight after today's stream. And the one that I'm going to connect up, oh, wrong thing unscrewed there. Oh well, I've had this one hooked up for a long time. Ah. Okay, well. This isn't what I wanted to do, but this might just end up being. No, I need that. Yeah, I've gotten in the habit of always using the slightly larger one here. So I haven't switched these out in a while. Okay, there we go. Oof. Jeez. What was on there? Okay. Cool, so this can go over here. And this other airbrush is just an airbrush with a smaller needle, and I guess it's also got a smaller well, but that doesn't really affect very much. Okay, so we'll use this. We'll swap over to that when we go to do the next step of the Aboleth. But for now, we're gonna work on this guy. I just wanted to get that done now in case I tried to convince myself that I could just use that airbrush again. I think I've done that too many times now. It's sputtering and spitting out paint. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is start to go through and do the details. So what detail do we want to do first here? I think we should just start at the bottom again. So I like to do black leather in a very specific way, which is I like to dry brush it. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a nice gradient here. We're going to go do the base coat in the black. So we're going to grab an off-white and a uniform gray. There's a couple of different shades here. We're going to go ahead and get to dry brushing these on there. Okay. Oh. How long have I not been listening to music? That's odd. There we go. Much better. Alrighty. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start dry brushing this on there. Just get a little bit in there. And I always like to test out my dry brushes to make sure that I can get to all those areas that I want to get to without too much issue. Yeah, that's fine. And we're going to go ahead and get a little bit of the paint on there. Smush it down into the bristles. And then test it. All right, cool. You can see here the differences in the colors here in a second. I'll do one leg and then I'll do the other leg actually, so we can see, you guys can see the difference in what we're doing here. Because as you do stuff over stages, sometimes it's really hard to see the actual progress. I do a really heavy dry brush here. I don't even know if I would call this dry brushing at this point. It's definitely not just getting the raised edges, but it's just kind of adding almost weathering to the whole of the boot. And you see there's the difference between that boot. Yeah, you can see the differences there between the two boots. Yeah. But from there, we're going to go ahead and after we've added that dry brush on there, I missed a spot here, sorry. Since it was pretty heavily done on there, I then go through and I'm going to add wash. The wash we're going to use here is is missing. So we're going to use Army Painter Dark Tone instead. Okay, just a couple of drops. That's a little bit much, so we're going to go ahead and dry off our brush a little bit. Just bring it back. You may be wondering to yourself, well, why would we use essentially a wash-based product and then dry brush and then use a wash-based product? Well, that back and forth adds depth to the colors that we're doing. What I mean by depth is it makes it a little bit less obvious that we've done techniques to it, which at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, is take something that is solid colors and make it look like it's not a tiny figure. So there, we got that boot. I'm going to leave, again, like I said, I'm going to leave that one undone so I can show you the difference between the two by the time we're done. So we're going to start on his robe here, and we're just going to get a slightly lighter purple. I'm going to go with orc blood. I have a lot of purples out here that I didn't actually need. Okay. Move this out. Oh. Not used to working with a camera. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. So we're going to grab this, our base brush again, and just starting to pay a little bit more attention to these lights and shadows. So avoiding the parts where we had the shadow, we're going to go ahead and just start to glaze in this lighter color in those areas. Because we're using just a very thin version of the paint in such a similar tone, we won't need to worry too much about the transitions of color. Just paying attention to the areas that are upward facing more. Okay. You, sir, are beginning to come together and be a formidable spellcaster. You don't have much of a butt. Sorry, sir. Okay. So there we go. We're starting to lighten up some areas. Nothing crazy. Oops, we missed a little bit. Pro tip, if you ever make mistakes like that, where I just straight up missed the part of the model that I was trying to paint entirely, get a good stiff brush that's not really great for painting anymore. But I have my collection of brushes over here, and a lot of these are just kind of terrible to use as brushes, so I keep them over there to use for a spot dry brush, or I use them for texture pastes and things like that. And they will go ahead and they'll get that paint right off there. Okay. Alrighty, here we go. Go ahead, just trying to get the color a little bit brighter without overdoing it here. I like this. Because we'll overdo it here in a minute, I promise. Okay. Okay, getting there. Okay, so we're getting there. So now here's where we stand on the purple. See here? Starting to get there, all that color changes. Let me actually grab my detail brush here. Well, not my detail brush, just my brush at the tip. On it here. I'm gonna get the tops of these folds down here. Okay. Alright, so then we're going to move on to the next color in our gradient here for that purple. Because it's the biggest part, I will do another layer here. And I think what I'm going to do is just edge highlight of Maybe this. It's gonna be very purple. Okay. So I'm gonna cut this a little bit with one of our other purples here because that's a very bright purple. We're not going for like that heavy metal, giant amounts of contrast. Okay. I'm gonna switch over to our more detailed brush here as well. But to mix my paint, so when I usually mix or thin my paints on my palette here, I just like to use the back of my brush and just kind of start messing with stuff till I get a color that I like. Okay. Or when I'm thinning down paints, I'll oftentimes use the back of my brush. Okay, there you go. That's a nice bright, much brighter purple. Okay. So now we're going to go through. We're going to go ahead and edge highlight his robes here and such. I got a rogue bristle. Okay. Alright, so using the side of our brush, we're just going to go ahead and trace along the outer edge of our model here. And no, it doesn't need to be crazy good. But whew, this is one of those parts where you can really mess up or like make it look very, very bad very, very quickly. But I'm actually really, really happy with this right now, guys. This edge highlighting is probably one of the better attempts that I've made. Except that right there, that's fine. Let's just stop talking about it. Okay, and then we'll move up here. His robe. Whatever this would be what the cuff of his. Yeah. Trying to go for a slightly thicker trace outline here on the top because this is a much larger part of the model. Or sorry, it's not larger, but visually larger. It's right there at the top. There we go. Oh, I guess I should do the other one so I can show you guys. All right. And this is about the level at which I'm going to be painting everything in the monster manual. So nothing too much higher, nothing too much lower. So we're not going to be spending 18 hours on a singular model, if I can help it. Okay. Then just picking out some of these parts here that need a little bit of oomph to them. All right, I'm actually really digging this. Okay. All right. This purple is treating me well right now. And we're going to grab his little pockets there as well. Alrighty. Cool. So yeah. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Alrighty. There we go. So yeah, there we have his robes. Looking pretty good there. The back of his robes. Really looking great. Really happy with that. So now I'm going to move on to, I'm going to call those robes done. I'm going to move on to doing the yellow part here in the middle. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to grab some more of my dark tone wash here. For people that want to use and get product advice and stuff, I'm probably just going to think out loud if I don't have any questions, comments, or anything to talk about in the chat. But the Army Painter washes are really, really great. But I would highly recommend thinning them down with just a little bit of water when you use them. Not a crazy amount, but yeah. Had some issues with just like how thick they are sometimes, but 100% user error. Okay. There we go. That's pretty much it. Then we're going to use the same, oh no, we're not. There we go. We'll bring out a little bit, actually. Looks like I got all of the wash on like one half of this thing here. There we go. And there we go. We just started to bring out a little bit of the detail there in his trench coat. One second, sorry. Okay. Alrighty, so what are we going to do next? Let's do his little club. I did the base coat of the fur brown on there. So I'll go ahead and follow that up with a contrast of snakebite leather. Or no, Gorgrunta fur, sorry. Gorgrunta fur on the club, and then the snakebite leather over the rigid brown for his gloves. And get some of these put away since we aren't using them anymore. That, and that. Cool. Use this to kind of bring out some of the details in this club here. Okay. And we'll use the snakebite leather on his hands. Slightly pointier brush for this. These contrast paints are great. They just kind of, what they'll do is the water tension in them, well, the tension on the brush, it's the paint itself. Geez, long day at work too. Oh my gosh, can't talk today. Will allow it to glaze over the top, the more flat sections of the model, and sink into the recesses of it. Really darkening the darks, as it were, because that's all contrast is. It's just lightening the lights and darkening the darks. There we go. Aces. Alrighty. Get the fingers really well here. There we go. Cool, 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 cool. All right. And we'll come back to those once those glazes dry a little bit. I think our foot is kind of dry enough now. Okay, cool. So now with our leg, I still have these out for a reason. With our boot there tidied up, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add just the tiniest amount of white into our gray mixture from earlier and mix it together here. A little bit more off-white. It's gonna be way too much. Okay. So we're gonna carefully get a little bit of the off-white, a little bit of the gray here. Just kind of mix our own lighter color right here. Okay. And then smush it into our dry brush. And then go ahead and just lightly, a lot lighter this time. Because now we are attempting just to get the highlights here. So down the front of his boots, across the top of them, then just right along the side. Okay, it's starting to look real good. From there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our white, and we're just going to get it real thin again. And just like when we were doing our edge highlighting earlier, using the side of our brush, we're going to pick out a couple of areas here and just highlight them. So for boots and such, there's usually, yeah, right here up at the front, just the top part here. And then there's usually a line for the light to reflect off of right down the front. And then we'll grab parts of these. And all we're doing is we're really picking out just a couple of the places where the dry brush was really picking up heavily and really pushing it up in color. And you'll see why here in a second. I guess I can tell you why while I do this. is we're going to actually wash this again. We're going to go ahead and bring all the colors down just a little bit one more time. And that'll help to blend everything down, help to blend everything together a little bit. All right. Oof. Does not look good right now, but it's fine. It'll look good in a minute. Nice. All right. All right, so let's see if we can get you to see that leg here. There's where we currently look like. So we currently look like, but it'll look better here in a minute. I promise. Looks a little bit messy, and it's supposed to. Alrighty, so let's get that on real quick here. A little bit of dark tone. And it's actually just the foot here I'm really struggling with. Okay. And now that we have that dark tone applied on there, you can see how it's reflecting a lot of light right now from there, but you can see how we're starting to really get the effect that we're looking for. And I can go through again and kind of tidy up some of it here with black. I'm going to tidy up that line down the middle. Just so these areas that we're highlighting, if we get a little bit crazy with them, we can just go back to our base color, help to block them back in. Since we have the wash on there right now, we have the luxury of being able to use that to blend it in a little bit better. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and call that one done and dusted, and we'll do the other one. I'll probably do the other one after the stream tonight, but just so right now you can see the difference between the two. And the difference here that we have, there you go. So the one on the left, oh, his right hand boot is very, very flat. And the other one is very, very much not flat. And right now it's reflecting a lot of light because it is a little bit wet still from that glaze, but I'll show it again here at the end. So now we've gotten that done, we're going to go ahead and do the highlights on the gloves and his little staff. Now we're just going to use a little bit of our white here. And just kind of dry brush a little bit, flicking our brush in an almost circular motion because I want to try and focus the dry brush from the above rather than just going back and forth. We're actually going down like that. And so what that allows you to do, if I can do it here, it lets you get just half of your dry brushing done, because I don't need it to be dry brush from the bottom. Why would those have brighter areas? And there we go. All right. And there we go. We got his gloves done. Nice. See that glove you really need. Yeah. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We got that done. Next, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give him orange hair, I believe. Yeah, I like that. Or like, yeah, we'll do orange. So I'm going to grab, this is a Fugan orange. It's a shade by Citadel. I'm going to go ahead and lock this up. And I love the shades. They're not quite as powerful as like your GW contrast paints, but they're still really great for stuff like this. When you need just a casual coat of something. You coming here? Oh, we might get a cat on the stream here, which everyone should be excited about. Come here. Kitty cat. Okay. Well, she's thinking about it. Here, you want to come up? No? This cat can't make her mind up what she wants to do. She's rubbing all over stuff near my feet, like she wants to get petted and she wants to join me, but she just woke up, so she might be going to get some food. Nope. There we go. Let me see if I can. I'll move this over here for now. And you can actually see her down here. Say hi, baby girl. Alrighty. And then she'll try to just chill back there for a while. Okay. So, grab our shade here. We're gonna get his beard going. Let's try just straight orange. So normally I actually undercoat this with a yellow, but I'm curious and I want to try just using the orange here. Okay. I don't like this orange. I'm gonna use the contrast paint. I'm gonna use the Griffhound orange. I like this better. It's very similar, but I immediately know that I'm not gonna like that. Can't quite put my finger on why, otherwise I would explain it, but I'm just not feeling that. Okay. There we go. Let's immediately start by covering up that other orange. A little bit too much on my brush there. I feel like people with red hair would be acolytes in a cult more likely, more often. Well, no, actually. It doesn't matter what color your hair is. But I think isn't there something about gingers, like people that they have no, I don't know why gingers, calling a group of people by any term, like even if it's like red-haired people and just calling them gingers. I don't know why that just hit my ear as like super inappropriate. I'm sorry. But people with red hair are often referred to as gingers, and they say some things about them, which is obviously not true in any way, shape, or form. But my buddy Cameron, he's red-haired, and he always makes jokes like, "Yeah, I don't have a soul," and I'm like, "What?" It wasn't until I met him that I realized that this was even a thing that people did. And he was like, "Yeah, no souls for gingers," and I was like, "What?" I'd never heard this before. This was just a couple years ago, and I was like, "That is that a thing that people talk about? That people think?" And obviously, I don't think it's true. But okay, So without the undercoat of a really bright color, it's hard to get the orange to show up here. I'm really happy with the way his hair turned out, but his beard is not working. It's not doing it for me. It's fine. We'll circle to it here in a minute. But I'll let that dry first. The last thing you want to do when you apply a glaze or a wash or something is to go and try and mess with it. You gotta let it dry and you gotta let it do its thing, and then you can fix the horrible mistakes that you've made. Okay, so next up we're gonna do his flesh. And this is just going to be the Guilliman flesh over top of the flesh tone that we added in there. And I think I'm going to use a different brush. I had one here that was perfect for this kind of stuff. Is that the one? No, but this will do. Alrighty, what time is it? It is... Oh, geez. We've been live for almost 2 hours, guys. Okay. Alright. So we're going to take this flesh wash. We're going to cover over all of the areas that we just base coated. Okay. Okay. We're going to grab this lava orange and we will use it to brighten up a couple parts of his beard. Mainly just in the front here, actually. Focusing again here, mostly on the areas on the top of his head with this brighter color. Okay, let's go ahead and blast out his eyes here. Get a nice sharp brush. And get some white here. Nice sharp point on our brush here. And we're just gonna, a little bit too much paint on there. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead. Kind of the best way that I found to do eyes is to take your motor control entirely out of the equation as much as possible. We're going to do that by bracing everything against each other. So my arms against the table. My wrists against each other and my fingers all against each other as well. And by doing this, essentially, I don't have to rely, because I actually have pretty shaky hands. Like, it's hard to tell right now, but I have good days and bad days. And today's a really good day, so I'm actually feeling really great. Otherwise, I wouldn't have tried to do something like that, that highlighting here. But like, even on my good days, I still struggle, especially once I actually grip a brush and I'm trying to get in there. I actually struggle to do a lot of this stuff. So bracing yourself as much as possible and taking my actual fingertips out of the equation really helps a lot. But yeah, so even though my hands are shaking a little bit, I'm still having a really good day with it. So you can only imagine what the bad days are like. And there, I was talking the whole time, and my paint dried up. I got a little bit of his eyebrow there, but that's not the end of the world. Okay, I'll go ahead and touch up that eyebrow now with the orange, duh, because if you have red hair, are your eyebrows orange too? Yeah, yeah. Easy for albino, all of your body hair is white. I don't know if that logic follows. Not super happy with this beard, but it is what it is. We gotta move on. We got a lot of monsters to paint. Okay. So the last thing here to do is his spell effect. And if he's an acolyte, he's probably casting... What kind of spells do they cast, actually? Let me look it up. So what spells does an acolyte know? Sacred Flame, Light, Bless, Cure Wounds, Thaumaturgy, Sanctuary. So we'll go ahead and we'll make his spell effect nice and yellowy. And I do that. I do most of my clear effects here the same way. I will either hit them with an airbrush, with a contrast paint, or just a very, very thin version, almost like an ink of a paint. Or I will do it by hand if I'm feeling particularly spicy. So we're just going to hold this with this. Yeah, that's fine. And then we're going to grab our brush. Get a little bit on there. Actually, wet your brush first. And get a little bit of paint on there. Alrighty. And just kind of cover it a little bit. So you can see with these really cool effects, get that really neat translucency still without having to prime it, but you can still paint it, which I really love these effects that they do. These clear sections, they really always look just absolutely phenomenal, and without putting like any effort into that at all. So let me see if I can get that to focus there. It really does, it does start to look like a spell of some kind, just coming right out of there. Alrighty. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So this needs to dry. So, oh, these are the wrong tweezers, Ricky. Oh, I'm a doofus. Alrighty, so we're going to take over actually. Trying to touch this too much here. I'm going to grab these with this. Okay, so these are actually really great. These are reverse tweezers in that you squeeze them to open them rather than to close them. I love them. I love those so much. Okay, cool. So this guy is actually, I think I want to call him done at this point. Maybe. There's definitely other things I could do to him, but I think I'm actually going to leave it for now. Hey, kitty cat. Oh, I guess if people want to see the cat, there's a big difference between me being over there and over here. Hey. This cat loves that I'm doing these live streams now as well, because then it's just a lot of time where I'm sitting in this chair and she can sit behind me. But you feeling hungry? You can go eat. Okay. That is good. And now it's time to go back to this Aboleth. Okay. We're getting there. We are getting there. I want to get a little bit more. I want it to be a little bit brighter on top. So the way I'm going to achieve that is with another airbrush session here with something a little bit lighter. So the first thing we did was we hit it with the wizard's orb. And I need something that's lighter than that and more closer to the blue side of things. So give me a second, I'm thinking. I could just mix something, but I suck at mixing paint. And I have so many paints here, I'm sure there's something. Here's something like this. It's a little brighter, I guess. To be like a really cold blue. Like that, maybe. Okay, so let's try some stuff here. I really like this glacier blue. Hitting it on top with a little bit of that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this. And then we can use, we might end up doing some other stuff to it as well. But for now, we'll start with that. And I don't think I've used this paint in years, so we're really gonna shake it. Go over here. Okay. Me and Kitty Cat are back. I didn't feel like everyone would want to stare at me shake a paint for like a solid minute and a half there. So just gonna go ahead and grab another little mixing cup here. Now, again, I don't think I've used this paint in years. And when I did, the issue that I had with it was that it was very not thin. So I'm gonna get a little bit of it in here. There we go. Okay, yeah. And then I'm gonna definitely thin this with some of this airbrush thinner. It might have been a little bit too much, but there we go. And then we're gonna mix it up. Again, I like to use the back of my brush for stuff like this. But given that I'm not doing a lot of paint, I'm gonna need to use the front. Alright. Okay. Yeah, alright, it's almost a white. Might be a little bit too bright, but we can always, I think, as we were painting the other model, I was thinking about this, and I think a little bit too bright might actually be perfect for what I'm envisioning here. So let's go ahead and fire this up. Okay. Gonna go ahead and get some of this in there. And I know we didn't mix a lot of this, but hopefully it's at least enough that we can tell if what I'm trying to do here is going to work. Try it. And as for what I want to do with all of these models, because I haven't talked about what I'm actually doing here too much, I did make the decision that up until the moment that the entire project is done, I'm going to keep them for myself. But once the project is entirely done, I will either lend or just straight give them to a local gaming store or an after-school D&D group. I just think that that's kind of the best place to put them to the most use. At least that was my thinking. Okay, so we're going to start real back, and I don't want to do this too heavily. There we go. Okay, yeah. We're not doing a highlight just based off of lighting here. We're actually doing it based off of where the flesh is, so when I do this section here, I need to make sure to cover up a little bit of this. Okay. And back here. Up here. Okay, cool. Very happy with that. This is where we're looking right now. And we're going to add a little bit more blue to that. Ooh, I love it when a plan comes together. We're going to go ahead and add some of this. This achromatic. Well, let me look back at my reference photo. I get really bad at that. Yeah, that works. Okay. Yeah, we're going to add a little bit of this into there. And we'll just do a drop of this. And yes, normally I would do like a dropper bottle or something for this, but I'm not doing a lot. And even a single drop might have felt like a little bit too much. Yeah, okay. Good deal. We are getting there. It's very bright on the blue, but that's okay. I think it's going to look pretty good. And you'll notice that I didn't clean out my old color because I just want to kind of mix it all together at this point. Yeah, okay. It's still coming out basically almost that same wolf gray. It's not really coming out blue. There it is. There's the blue. Okay. I guess I didn't quite get through my other paint. My bad. I think this would be a really fun model to really just spend a lot of time getting the flesh absolutely perfect. Okay, cool. So, fish monsters coming together. Alright, now I want a slightly darker blue. I'm going to focus that up more towards the front of him. Actually, no, he's basically white up front. Okay, cool. Cool. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and clean this out real quick. There it is. There we go. But yeah, if we got 2 monsters done every Friday, we would still be at this task for, actually, I have my chart open now when I pulled up my reference photos. What do we got? Still 400, 300? Yeah, 300. So if we were only able to get 2 monsters done a day every Friday, it would probably take about definitely over a year. Probably looking at closer to 2 years to get all this done. So I'm taking my time. I'm going to enjoy this project. I'm not concerned about getting it done because we'll know I'll get it done. But I don't really have a deadline. Alrighty. And now we're just going to go ahead and shoot a bunch of shit through the airbrush to try and clean up everything else that we had. Throw those away. As for basing, I'm probably going to do the bases for all these models on my own, just because I have some things that I like to do on stream. It might be something that I do it on like a random Wednesday stream. That's where I do stuff like work on works in progress, some random shit. But for this, I wanted a day of the week that all I did was paint. Because even after just doing a couple of streams on Wednesdays so far, I'm disappointed at the little that I actually ended up painting last weekend. So I want this to be 100% only putting paint on plastic. For now, at least. And then I'll be able to do the rest of it on my own. Okay. Turn that off. Do. Okay, throw these away. And my paper towels. Hi. And yes, we still have Mrs. Pepper right down here. Well, Miss Pepper. Okay. I like this a lot. We're going to go ahead and glaze it. Glaze it up. I was really tempted to go absolutely insane with it and just make him a glowy. Actually, I think I'm gonna do it. I think Aboleths are such a really sick creature. I think I might do something crazy. There's only 4 people watching me do this right now, so don't judge me. I'm just gonna do something. I think I'm just gonna use this Tesseract Glow on this Aboleth and make him glow. We shall see how this looks. I like that. Definitely gotta make it thinner. So yeah, watered down. I was worried this stuff would be a little bit too strong, but we water it down enough. Actually, it's really, really, really cool. Definitely adds that almost otherworldliness to it. But you gotta make sure it's real thin. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna be official with it. We're gonna get a little bit of this into our drip out there. A little inkwell. That way we can really control how much we're actually using here. Like that. That was too much, so dry off our brush. I'll get the excess paint off of our brush and then go back at it a little bit. Yeah, alright. I love it. He is very supernatural. This is not something I would want to run into randomly. The bottom of a deep cave. Alrighty. I'm only doing this on the areas that are going to be lighter. Okay. And the fins, I believe, are like a dark, almost turquoise. So we'll go ahead and do those next. Alrighty, I was really nervous about this, and I was like, oh man, you're getting a little sloppy, but no, I'm really happy with this. Okay. Oh wow. Alright, I would not have thought that that would work. Okay, and now we just need to do his little fins there. But yeah, no, it's definitely got a spooky vibe to him right now. Alright, and when we do the little fins here, I'm going to need a little bit more precision with my brush, so we'll switch to using this one. And we'll go ahead and we'll use some, let's say warp lightning. I like the sound of. We're just doing the inside portion of the fins here. Be careful not to get it all. I'm about to paint the right spot, right? Yeah, okay. They have that little membrane looking thing going on. Okay. Alrighty. What we're doing here is we're just trying to make it a little bit darker in there on these fins. Okay. You know, I will say, this Aboleth is definitely not in something that would be necessarily, I would describe as in my comfort zone before tonight. But I am very happy with how it looks right now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a little bit of touch-ups here on the bottom of his belly. Just hit it with a wash here and kind of hopefully tone it down a little bit, because as we can see here, it's very green under there. Okay. I'm going to do that with the let's use Orc Flesher. Get a little bit more green. Okay, there we go. Nothing crazy. Awesome. So now we're okay. Now we're just going to do his mouth and call this one done as well. And we'll do his mouth just with a red, and then maybe pick out some teeth here. Alrighty. Let's get the inside of his mouth here as well. I just noticed his little eyes there. I'll have to paint those as well for sure. Alrighty. And his eyes. What color should his eyes be? Let's just go with a dark green. Yeah. I like painting minis. This has been a lot of fun. I'll be honest, I had a very not great time at work today. and just one of those days where it wasn't anything in particular. I just wasn't feeling my job. I just felt upset for a lot of the day. I just didn't want to be there. And just, I don't know. It was one of those days, and I went home a little bit early. Well, I got off work a little bit early. I work remotely from here. I had to leave a little bit early because we were very slow. I entered in some, flex time and took a nap. And then I started this stream, and I was like, no one's gonna watch. And I got a lot in my own head about it, and I almost just called the whole thing off. But then I was like, you know what? I want to paint some minis, and I got people to watch. I got people to talk to me for the first time in the stream here, and yeah. Thank you all very much. I was just thinking about that. Means a lot. Okay. Gonna need a darker green, because that is barely showing up. Okay, let's go with green. So that was the forest green. Let's go with angel green, which I believe is a Dark Angels Warhammer reference for this dark green. Okay, yeah, that's gonna show up much more. Okay. And I will always take pictures of all of the models that we paint together, guys and gals. I will always take pictures of these and post them up on Instagram. So you can always go and refer back there if you want a good final look-see at what we did and how it ended up looking. I am going to see if for the Friday night painting sessions, if there's an easier way for me to switch audio and video. Oh no, that's right. I fixed that problem like an hour ago in my head. Next week I'll be able to switch between the two cameras, or the two camera setups, very, very easily. But like I said, I'm not very versed with using cameras yet. Okay, cool. So there we go. We'll go ahead and pick out some of these teeth here. All right, there we have our Aboleth. Go ahead and see what you're seeing. Okay. Yeah, it's very spooky. Yeah, very happy with it. So pretty good monster manual Friday night paint session, guys. And I haven't forgot we are gonna go and attach that guy's hand to him and deal with the rest of that. His spell is probably dry by now. But yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun. Okay, very happy with how both of these came out. And if you've watched any of my other previous live streams, you'll know that if I'm not, I'll just say straight up, yeah, I'm not happy with that. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna do that differently. I do say that a lot on a lot of the other live streams. let's go ahead and make sure we have nice good tips on all of our brushes. So put them away, because I am done painting for the night. I have some other projects that I am recording currently for upcoming videos, and I need to get, what time is it? Oh, it's only 1 a.m. Okay. I need to get that recording done and then video editing, just because there's deadlines on a couple of those, so I really need to get that going. But we'll go ahead and put that there. Grab some glue. And you guys can see those videos coming up here soon on the channel. They'll both be up by the end of the month, or I'm not going to commit to that. They will both, at least one will be up to view by the end of the month, but I know that all of the recording and stuff will be done by the end of next week. If not this week. Just because of the deadlines that I have on the projects. Oh, well, there goes part of my glove. Okay, cool. And then there is our wizard, our acolyte, sorry. Yeah. Come on, work with me here, camera. I need to get better at this stuff. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this. He's definitely a spooky. Okay. I think I'm done. I think this is it. A very successful one, and I'm going to mark 2 of these monsters off. Stay tuned next week, because I actually currently have in my possession either physical models of or STL files of all of the A monsters. So we will be kind of just randomly getting through those as I either print them off with my 3D printer or get them in the mail or go pick them up from local stores. I have a few that I need to go pick up that I have on reservation at a local store called Yada Quest. But all in all, thank you all very, very much. I have had the chat closed for about an hour and a half or so. So sorry if I missed. I missed a couple of messages here. Yeah, no faith. Send me the progress that you made on Typhus at Zeodius on Discord, and the Instagram is at Good Enough Painting. Good Enough Painting is just spelled exactly like it is here on the YouTube channel, and I can send you a link as well if you need. But yeah, let's see here. I'll just type it out here in the chat real quick. I don't know where I was just typing, but it wasn't in the chat. Okay, at Good Enough Painting. That's the handle, and I'm gonna go over to my Instagram. There we go. So I've gotten a little bit bad at doing as many posts as I would like on Instagram, only because I was launching all of this YouTube stuff, and let's see here, I'll deactivate that. I just haven't gotten a chance to get as into it, and I have like a bunch of stuff I need to get pictures of, but I will commit to at the very least getting all of these up when they're done. Base wise, they won't be based yet, but once they are done on the live stream here, I will start to think about how I want to base them, and I'll probably do them all in batches, because there's a lot of monsters that we're going to need to do, and my initial thought was to do giant display boards for all of them, and that's a lot of work, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them. So for now, these are going to go in a box, but once they're done in the box, and I know what I want to do for all of my basing, if I want to do display boards or if I want to do magnetized swappable bases, there's a lot of ideas cracking around my head. But the long and short of it is they're not going to get based yet. But when they do, I will definitely make sure to put pictures of them up on the Instagram. For now, I'll just put these work in progresses. Thank you all very, very much. Tell your friends, tell your family. Make sure to also spread the word. Good Enough Painting isn't just me crapping around on the internet trying to get views and likes and subs and all of that. This is never going to be a full-time anything for me. I offer commission painting services simply because I like to paint things for people that are unable to paint them themselves. My goal is to help people to vanquish those giant piles of shame. And I don't necessarily like that term, piles of shame, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. If it's something that you can't really get to, if it's something that you don't feel motivated to doing, as someone that has had a lot of trouble with motivation in the past too, it's okay. That's why I keep my prices as low as I do, and that's also why I don't advertise those super low prices on big websites and stuff, because I know that even at the kind of good enough standard that I only have the two levels of painting. Um, the first of which is what we all did today. This would kind of be your level one, and the second level that's just a little bit above that. Uh, I don't want to do people's armies for them. I don't want to do all these crazy large projects to just kind of do it because they don't want to. A good example is I like to help people that might not be able to paint models themselves, or might really love something like Dungeons and Dragons, but have no interest in the hobby itself, but they really want those models, uh, and that's kind of what I've been going for. Um, so yeah, if you have anyone, or if you yourself have something you want me to do, right now I'm completely empty on commissions, so I'm taking anything and everything. There's no special requirements. That a little while ago there was some special requirements because it gets pretty busy, and there might be again in the future. But as of now, just doing whatever comes my way. You can shoot me an email on any of that, and tell your friends. Anyway, there's my one plug for the day, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening, everybody. I've got to hop off to go edit some videos, and then hopefully, if I get that done quickly, play some Destiny 2. Thank you all, and have a phenomenal rest of your night. I don't know if this is actually